Welcome back to Superbly Said, Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Yeah, and just before we jump into the material today, a really quick bit of context.
Right.
This deep dive actually comes directly from a SpeakDuo lesson. So, if you want to take the advanced vocabulary you learned today and actually practice it, you could just head over to speakduo.com.
Yeah, it's a fantastic place to meet new people from around the world, like practicing English on video calls to really build up speaking confidence.
Exactly.
And a quick note for you listening, this exploration is specifically for advanced English learners. So we're kind of going beyond the basics here.
We definitely are.
So let's just get right into it. Imagine you're staring at a work email you've been actively avoiding for like 3 entire days.
Oh, I hate that feeling.
Right. It's just hanging over your head like a dark cloud. You don't just want to finish the reply. You want to completely, kill that feeling of dread in your stomach.
Yeah, and the phrase native speakers use for that exact feeling is to get something over with.
To get something over with.
Exactly. I mean, the source material points out some really relatable situations, like forcing yourself to do your tax forms before the weekend.
Ugh, taxes.
Right, or, answering those annoying emails first thing in the morning just so they stop nagging at your brain all day. You're doing it quickly so you can stop worrying.
But, okay, let me push back on that a bit. Like, why wouldn't I just say, to finish my taxes? I mean, technically, the outcome is the exact same, right?
Yeah, the outcome is the same, but finishing is just a completely neutral action.
Neutral, right?
Like you finish a great dessert or you finish a really good book.
Yeah.
But getting it over with highlights the emotional relief. It's not about the effort. It's about removing the act of dread.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid.
Yes, exactly like that.
You don't do it because it feels good. You do it fast to just minimize the pain window. You want the suffering to end. So like in a work scenario or maybe an IELTS speaking test, you could tell your boss, I'm going to get the quarterly report over with this morning so I can focus on the new pitch.
That is a perfect professional application. But, there's a flip side to that psychological need to just escape a dreaded task.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because when someone desperately wants to get a task over with, their work usually gets incredibly sloppy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then rather than actually put in the effort to fix it, they try to pass those subpar results onto you.
The classic shifting of the blame.
Right. And in English, we say they're trying to palm someone off, or to use the full phrase, to palm someone off with something.
To palm someone off. Okay, so what does that actually look like in practice?
It's basically convincing someone to accept a highly weak substitute or just a terrible excuse. Our sources use the repair world as a great example.
Okay, repairs.
Yeah, so imagine taking your expensive laptop in for a fix, and instead of repairing the motherboard, they try to palm you off with like an old replacement part.
Or like a clothing store giving you a refund voucher instead of actually replacing a broken jacket.
Exactly. They just want you to go away.
But wait, let me stop you there. If a store gives me a voucher instead of fixing my jacket, isn't that just a compromise? I mean, I'm getting something, right?
It looks like it on the surface, sure. But a compromise is mutual. Both people agree to give a little ground.
Right.
When you're being calmed off, you're being slightly deceived or at least dismissed by someone who's just unwilling to put in the necessary effort.
Oh, I see. You're a victim of their convenience.
Precisely.
So if I were answering an IELTS Part 2 prompt about a disappointing customer service experience, that'd be a great phrase to use.
Oh, absolutely.
Or like a boss trying to palm you off with a fancy new job title instead of, an actual pay raise you earn.
Yes, exactly.
But I have to ask, does palming someone off, does it always imply deeply malicious intent?
I wouldn't say malicious, no. I'd argue it leans heavily toward pure laziness or conflict avoidance.
Right. So to avoid getting palmed off with bad excuses, you really need clear communication. You need solid proof.
You do. Which brings us to the phrase, to bear something out.
To bear something out.
Yeah. It means providing evidence or behavior that strongly supports a specific claim or idea.
Okay, so what's a good human dynamics example of that?
Well, say someone claims a specific coworker dislikes early meetings. If that coworker is repeatedly late to 8 a.m. syncs, their lateness bears out the claim.
Oh, okay. Or like a messy desk bearing out what people say about someone being really absent-minded?
Exactly. But you have to contrast this with the standard verb, to prove.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how is bearing out actually different from just proving something?
Well, proving is usually definitive and instant, like mathematical proof.
Right, undeniable.
But bearing out refers to a pattern of behavior. It's gradual evidence validating a theory over time. Much slower.
Oh, I love that. So in a corporate context, you might say, the Q3 sales data bears out our theory that the new ad campaign is working. But wait, let me challenge this concept a bit.
Sure, go for it.
Is bearing something out sometimes just like human confirmation bias?
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
Like, we already think the coworker is absent-minded, so we specifically look at the messy desk just to support the stereotype we already hold.
You know, that's a highly insightful way to look at it. Yes, we often actively seek the exact evidence required to bear out the narratives we already believe.
Right. It's rarely entirely objective.
Exactly.
But I mean, let's be honest, we don't always get that slow observational proof. Sometimes the evidence absolutely refuses to bear itself out naturally.
No, it doesn't. And when that happens, you have to force the issue.
Right.
You have to make the facts painfully obvious to the people around you. And the phrase for that is to spell something out, or to spell something out for someone.
To spell it out.
Yeah, it means explaining something so clearly and in such extreme detail that it's incredibly easy to understand.
Like spelling out a complex schedule so everyone knows exactly what to do and when.
Exactly. Or, outside of work, spelling out a difficult recipe step by step so your partner doesn't miss a single ingredient.
Here's what I find really fascinating about this one. In professional English, we're almost always taught to summarize, right?
We are, yeah.
But when you summarize, you're making things shorter. So spelling it out is basically the exact opposite mechanism.
Precisely. Summarizing condenses. Spelling it out means intentionally expanding on every tiny detail to eliminate any possible room for confusion.
I see. So if you're leading a meeting, you might say, let me spell out the project timeline for the new clients so there are absolutely no surprises.
Yeah, it's a polite corporate way of saying, I'm making this so incredibly simple you cannot possibly mess it up.
And we only do that agonizing effort because usually there are real, tangible consequences on the line.
Right. And when there are real consequences, we say things are at stake.
At stake.
Yeah, being at stake means being at a very real risk of being lost or severely affected if a specific situation goes wrong.
Okay, so like several entire careers being at stake after a department fails to meet its goal.
Exactly. Or, for a minor inconvenience, your precious weekend nap being at stake if management schedules any extra Saturday meetings.
Oh, using advanced vocabulary for dramatic naps is the best. But structurally, how is at stake fundamentally different from just being in danger?
If we look at the historical roots, at stake implies a specific gamble.
A gamble, okay.
Yeah, it's a condition tied directly to a specific outcome, almost like placing a wager. Being in danger is far more general and passive.
Ah, got it. You can be in danger from a storm, but your job is at stake based on performance.
Exactly.
So for IELTS, describing a highly stressful situation, you could say, my entire final grade was at stake.
That is a fantastic nuance to show off.
So if you step up, manage those risks, and protect whatever is at stake, human nature kicks in. You naturally want your fair share of the rewards.
Of course. And demanding those rewards is called wanting a slice of the pie.
A slice of the pie.
It refers to getting a totally fair share of the money, the benefits, or the acclaim from a successful situation.
Like everyone wanting a slice of the pie after a massive corporate acquisition succeeds.
Exactly. Or expecting a slice of the pie when you're the one offering the quick ideas that help the team meet their deadline.
Let's compare this to getting a standard paycheck, though. Because a paycheck is fixed, right?
That's completely static.
Regardless of the company's success.
Exactly. A slice of the pie implies a dynamic proportional share of collective success. If the physical pie gets larger because of your hard work, your slice should theoretically get larger right alongside it.
But wait, a physical pie is finite. You only have so many slices.
Sure.
So does asking for a slice of the pie imply a zero-sum game? Like if my slice gets bigger, does my coworker's slice have to get smaller?
You've just described the eternal debate in economics and office politics. Yes, the idiom heavily implies a finite resource.
So if upper management takes a bigger slice,
The workers inherently get a smaller one.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and we all know the corporate world isn't fair, so resentment builds.
It really does.
And when people feel denied what they're owed, they start taking matters into their own hands.
Which is when people decide to make off with something.
To make off with.
Yeah, taking an item quickly and
Ooh.
crucially without asking for true permission.
Like a coworker suddenly making off with the leftover cake in the break room.
Yes. Or being wildly tempted to make off with those tiny hotel shampoo bottles on vacation.
I definitely make off with those tiny shampoos. But notice the language. We don't say we stole them.
Right, because stealing sounds highly criminal and severe.
You steal a diamond ring.
Exactly. Making off with sounds far more opportunistic or casual. It almost exclusively involves minor items. You make off with a stapler.
It's perfect for office banter. Like, did Dave just make off with my favorite blue pen again?
Exactly. It's cheeky.
But, making off with pens is ultimately a bad behavior. And when we recognize those patterns in ourselves, we eventually have to change.
Which is perfectly captured by our final phrase, to kick a habit,
To kick a habit.
meaning to successfully and permanently stop a repeated behavior that is incredibly difficult to give up,
Like finally kicking the habit of checking a phone late at night.
or desperately wanting to kick the habit of mindlessly scrolling social media right before bed.
But I always get stuck on the violence of the word kick. Why such an aggressive verb for personal growth? Why not just stop?
Because merely stopping implies a simple, easy choice. Kicking implies a difficult, active, and highly physical struggle.
Oh, because our brains are so unbelievably stubborn?
Exactly. It literally requires blunt force to break the cycle.
So if you're taking the IELTS exam saying, I'm really trying to kick the habit of procrastinating on major assignments, sounds so much more natural than just saying, I want to stop.
It definitely does.
Okay, so you have absorbed a massive amount of advanced vocabulary today. Now it is time to put you to the test. We're going to conduct a rapid-fire vocabulary quiz.
Yes, here are the rules for the quiz. For each question, we'll give you option A, option B, and option C.
Right, and we'll repeat the relevant idiom multiple times so you don't forget what you're guessing.
Yep. We'll prompt you to pause the audio if you need time to think, and then we'll reveal the correct answer right away.
Let's do this. Question 1. What is the best definition for the expression to get something over with?
Option A. To carefully, repeatedly, entirely review a highly complex old document to completely ensure it has totally zero errors.
Option B. To deliberately, heavily, fiercely, stubbornly, forcefully refuse to completely, fully engage in highly severe discussions.
Or option C. To actively complete an incredibly unpleasant task very quickly so you can finally stop worrying about it altogether.
Remember, what does it mean to get something over with? Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option C.
Right, to actively complete an incredibly unpleasant task very quickly so you can finally stop worrying about it altogether.
Remember our example of forcing yourself to finish those dreadful tax forms or answering annoying morning emails just to get it over with.
Exactly. All right, question 2. How is the phrase to bear something out accurately defined?
Option A. To successfully, powerfully, deeply, intensely, carefully, aggressively, physically carry a heavily loaded box across a room.
Option B. To actively, practically provide undeniable evidence or clear behavior that strongly supports a specific claim or idea.
Or option C. To completely, successfully, thoroughly, actively, forcefully, entirely, deeply, proudly deny a highly accurate true statement.
Again, how do we define to bear something out? Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option B.
Yes, to actively, practically provide undeniable evidence or clear behavior that strongly supports a specific claim or idea.
Just like having an incredibly messy desk bears out the claim that someone is fundamentally absent-minded.
Spot on. Question 3. If someone manages to palm someone off with something, what exactly are they doing?
Option A. To completely, forcefully, successfully, cleanly, rapidly, entirely, peacefully, safely, deeply clear it.
Option B. To happily, safely, generously, gracefully, incredibly smoothly, confidently, entirely peacefully, carefully, thoroughly give it.
Or option C. To successfully, heavily, actively, truly convince an annoyed person to totally accept a highly weak excuse or substitute.
What are they doing when they palm someone off? Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
Is option C.
Correct. To successfully, heavily, actively, truly convince an annoyed person to totally accept a highly weak excuse or substitute.
Think back to a store giving you a temporary refund voucher instead of providing a proper repair. They palmed you off.
Yep. Okay, question 4. What does a person mean when they say something is at stake?
Option A. To be genuinely, heavily, directly, totally at a real risk of being completely lost if a specific situation deeply fails.
Option B. To completely, correctly, naturally, successfully, efficiently, accurately, smoothly, gracefully, thoroughly resolve the issues.
Or option C. To completely, purposely, aggressively, tightly, firmly, actively, officially, severely, perfectly, effectively secure boundaries.
What does it mean to be at stake? Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
Option A is correct.
Right, to be genuinely, heavily, directly, totally at a real risk of being completely lost if a specific situation deeply fails.
Think of the serious example of corporate jobs being at stake, or the tragedy of your precious weekend nap being at stake.
Exactly. Question 5. Which of the following describes what it means to spell something out?
Option A. To completely, securely, intensely, naturally, actively, heavily, strictly, perfectly, entirely, aggressively, purely rewrite it.
Option B. To officially, highly, carefully, successfully, truly, purely explain a totally complicated certain topic fully and clearly.
Or option C. To entirely, careful, deeply, naturally, strictly, actively, purposely, safely, permanently, completely, physically cut.
What does it mean to spell something out? Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The answer is option B.
Yes. To officially, highly, carefully, successfully, truly, purely explain a totally complicated certain topic fully and clearly.
We talked about how helpful it is when a partner spells out a recipe step by step, so absolutely nothing gets missed.
Perfect. Moving on to question 6. What occurs when a person manages to make off with an item?
Option A. To actively, totally, thoroughly, peacefully, efficiently, smoothly, strongly, forcefully, completely, permanently clear accounts.
Option B. To deliberately, entirely, effectively, successfully, confidently, beautifully, proudly, strictly, thoroughly, fully manufacture.
Or option C. To remarkably, suddenly, intentionally, actively, incredibly quickly, heavily, securely take an item without true permission.
What happens when you make off with something?
Keep
Feel
on.
free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
Option C is the correct choice.
Right. To remarkably, suddenly, intentionally, actively, incredibly quickly, heavily, securely take an item without true permission.
Exactly, like cheekily making off with the tiny hotel shampoo bottles or sneaking away with the leftover cake.
The best examples. Speaking of slices, question 7. What does it mean if you demand a slice of the pie?
Option A. A totally, deeply, absolutely fully fair, specific share of the actual financial rewards or truly highly massive benefits.
Option B. A specifically, incredibly, carefully, totally, beautifully, naturally, fully, gracefully, perfectly heavily baked round foods.
Or option C. A severely, highly, terribly, unfortunately, absolutely, highly, completely, intensely, truly, subtly, completely bad decisions.
What does it mean to want a slice of the pie? Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
It is option A.
Correct. A totally, deeply, absolutely, fully fair, specific share of the actual financial reward or truly highly massive benefits.
You expect a slice of the pie when you're the one offering the quick ideas that lead to the team's ultimate success.
Exactly. And our final challenge, question 8. What happens when someone actively tries to kick a habit?
Option A. To intensely, repeatedly, forcefully, fully, proudly, successfully, aggressively, fiercely, safely, accurately, genuinely break it.
Option B. To permanently, efficiently, proudly, totally, happily, genuinely, naturally, successfully stop a very difficult daily behavior.
Or option C. To actively perfect it.
What happens when you try to kick a habit? Feel free to pause the podcast here if you need to think about the answer.
The correct answer is option B.
Yes, to permanently, efficiently, proudly, totally, happily, genuinely, naturally, successfully stop a very difficult daily behavior.
Just like the immense struggle of trying to kick the habit of endlessly scrolling social media right before bed.
If you got those right, your grasp of advanced vocabulary is definitively bearing out your hard work.
It really is.
But before we wrap up this conversation, I just can't stop thinking about what all these idioms reveal about human nature.
Oh, completely. It's fascinating.
Isn't it? We've built this vast, complex layer of advanced language dedicated almost entirely to avoiding hard work, shifting blame, and arguing over who gets the biggest rewards.
It really is incredible when you step back and look at it.
I mean, it absolutely bears out the idea that no matter what country you work in or what native tongue you speak, human office politics are just a completely universal language.
Absolutely true. We all just want to get our unpleasant tasks over with, prevent people from palming us off, and grab our rightful slice of the pie.
Exactly. So notice how often you hear these specific dynamics playing out at your own job tomorrow. We'll leave you to mull that over.
Keep practicing those phrases.
Catch you on the next one.